Some men walk with pride. Some men walk with strength. But this man, he walked with a limp and carried the weight of battles most would never understand. His military jacket, worn and faded, spoke louder than words ever could. Stitched patches frayed from years of use, dirt and sweat embedded deep into the fabric. The insignia on his chest was nearly rubbed away, but to anyone who had served it was still unmistakable. His cane tapped against the bus floor with each shift of the ride, steady but strained, the rhythm of a man forcing dignity out of pain. He wasn't there to draw attention. He wasn't there for pity. He was there simply to get home. But to a group of young men lounging at the back of the bus, he was something else. A target. They laughed, loud, mocking laughter that cut through the hum of the engine and the soft rustle of newspapers. Their voices were sharp and careless, the kind of sound that thrived on other people's discomfort. "Look at him," one sneered, jabbing his friend with an elbow, "walking like he's about to fall apart." Sounds cruel, right? However, that's how the world is today. Even the soldiers aren't spared. Before we continue, to our returning viewers, thank you. Your support is what fuels us to bring these powerful stories to life. And if you're new here, we invite you to subscribe. With your help, we'll continue to share stories that inspire, challenge, and move hearts. And if this story touches you, please leave us a comment. Your words mean more than you know. Another grinned wide, pulling out his phone. "Bro, I'm recording this. But the internet will love it," crippled Commando on the 52 line. The third folded a piece of paper with exaggerated care, creasing the edges tight. He leaned back, gave it a flick, and the paper airplane shot across the aisle. It struck the soldier's chest before fluttering down to the floor. The men burst into laughter again. The soldier's eyes stayed down, his jaw clenched, but he said nothing. Silence was his shield. Years of discipline had taught him restraint. He had endured worse. The hiss of bullets over his head, the crash of mortars in the distance, the weight of fallen brothers on his shoulders. Compared to that, this was noise. But still, the sting bit deep. Because inside, the memories burned. He remembered the desert heat, the smell of oil and sand, the echo of orders barked in urgency. He remembered the night ambush, the blast that had thrown him through the air. He remembered waking up in a hospital bed, one leg mangled beyond recognition, doctors whispering about miracles just to keep him walking again. And now here he was, home, on a city bus, a cane in hand where once he carried a rifle, a limp where once there had been strength. He told himself it didn't matter, that their words were empty, that his silence was his dignity. But dignity has a limit. The laughter grew bolder. "Bet he cries himself to sleep every night," one jeered. "Bet the army didn't even want him back. What kind of soldier comes home broken?" Passengers shifted uncomfortably. Some pretended not to notice, eyes glued to their phones. Others stared at their shoes, guilt flickering in their eyes but no courage in their spines. No one moved. No one spoke. The soldier adjusted his grip on the cane and tried to stand straighter. His jaw tightened. His knuckles whitened. But as he reached for the railing to steady himself against the bus's sharp turn, one of the young men stretched out his foot. The cane caught, his balance faltered. The soldier stumbled. The cane clattered to the floor with a hollow sound that echoed through the bus. For a moment, everything slowed. The soldier's hand shot out, gripping a seat to steady himself, his body trembling under the strain. And then the laughter roared louder than ever. "Look at that," one howled. "The hero can't even stay standing. Should have stayed in the hospital, old man." Phones lifted, recordings continued. To them this was pure entertainment. Cruelty had become comedy. The soldier's chest rose and fell in heavy breaths. His eyes burned, but he held it in. He would not give them the satisfaction of breaking. He refused. And yet, inside, he felt the familiar burn of anger, the same fire he had carried overseas, the same fire that had kept him alive when the world around him fell to chaos. But he smothered it, because that's what he had learned to do. Because this was home now, and here a soldier had to be silent. The bullies didn't stop. One leaned forward, reaching down to snatch up the cane. He twirled it in his hands like a toy, spinning it and laughing. "What's this? A stick? A crutch? Or maybe it's his last piece of pride." "Careful," another smirked. "Might hurt himself if you give it back." The soldier swallowed hard, his lips pressed thin. His heart pounded in his chest, louder than the hum of the engine, louder than the thugs' voices. The other passengers, silent, complicit, a bus full of eyes that saw but pretended they didn't. The soldier lowered his gaze. He reached slowly, painfully for the cane, but the thug yanked it away, holding it just out of reach like a cruel game. "Say please," he mocked. "Say it like you mean it." The soldier's jaw tightened. His breathing grew heavier, he didn't speak. "Guess he's too proud," another said with a smirk. "Let's teach him some humility." And then it happened. The bus doors hissed open. Boots stepped onto the metal floor, steady, heavy, purposeful. The kind of steps that carried weight, not just the weight of a body but of presence, of authority, of storms. Every head turned. Jasonstatham walked in. Not as a passenger, not as a bystander, but as the storm these bullies never saw coming. His eyes, cold and sharp, scanned the scene. He didn't need to ask what had happened. He saw it in the soldier's trembling hand, in the cane dangling like a trophy, in the smug grins plastered across the faces of the men at the back. The air shifted. The laughter faltered, if only for a second. Jason's steps echoed as he moved down the aisle, each one measured, each one deliberate. The soldier lifted his head. Their eyes met, a brief exchange, one man carrying scars of war, the other carrying the silence of experience. No words passed, but something unspoken did. The bus thought it was about to witness another cruel joke. What it was really about to see was justice. The bus went silent. Not a word, not a whisper. Even the hum of the engine felt muted under the weight of Jasonstatham's presence. The bullies tried to mask their unease with smirks, but their laughter had already cracked. One shifted in his seat. Another tucked his phone halfway under the table, though the red light still blinked, recording. Jason stopped in the aisle a few feet away. His voice was calm, almost quiet, but it carried like thunder. "Give him the cane." The thug twirling it froze. His cocky grin faltered, but only for a moment. He puffed his chest and leaned back, trying to look relaxed. "What's it to you, old man?" he sneered. "This cripple doesn't need it. Maybe he should crawl instead." His friends burst into laughter again, louder, more desperate, clinging to bravado like a shield. Jason didn't flinch. His gaze never left the cane. "I won't ask again." The bus felt smaller now, the air pressing in. The passengers, who had been silent witnesses, leaned forward in their seats. A mother pulled her child closer. An elderly man gripped his briefcase tighter. Everyone was waiting. The bully smirked wider. "And what if I do?" Jason stepped forward, one step, just one. The bully's laugh died. Because it wasn't just a step. It was the way he moved, smooth, controlled, predatory. The way a man moves when he's been in fights that don't end in rules or referees. The way a man moves when he's already calculated 10 ways to end this without breaking a sweat. The soldier, still seated, tried to speak. "It's not worth it," he murmured, his voice low but heavy with exhaustion. Jason's eyes flicked toward him for only a second, then back to the bully. "He's right," Jason said evenly. "It's not worth it, not for you." The bus jolted to a stop at a red light. The sudden lurch made the bully's grip falter and the cane slipped halfway down his hand. Jason's arm shot out fast as lightning, and in one fluid motion, he snatched the cane from the bully's grasp. The entire bus gasped. Jason didn't raise the cane as a weapon. He didn't need to. He held it with care, like it was something sacred, before passing it back to its rightful owner. "Yours," he said simply. The soldier's hand trembled as he took it. Their eyes met again, one man scarred, the other steel. Gratitude passed between them, wordless but unshakable. The bullies weren't laughing anymore, but one, the loudest of the group, wasn't ready to back down. Pride and fear mixed on his face. "Think you're tough, huh?" he spat, standing now, his shoulders squared. "You don't scare us." Jason tilted his head slightly, almost curious. "Is that so?" The bully lunged. What happened next was so fast, most of the passengers only caught flashes. Jason sidestepped effortlessly, the bully's punch slicing through empty air. Jason's elbow connected with the thug's ribs, a sharp, controlled strike that sent him crashing back into his seat, gasping for breath. Another stood up, charging with a clumsy swing. Jason blocked with one arm, twisted the wrist, and with a flick, sent the man sprawling into the aisle, his phone skittering across the floor. The remaining two hesitated. Their bravado drained, but peer pressure forced them forward. They lunged together. Jason's movements were poetry. One duck, one pivot, one perfectly timed kick, and the first thug slammed against the bus wall, wind knocked clean out of him. The second found himself face first against a window, Jason's grip locking his arm in place with precision that spoke of training far beyond bar fights. The bus wasn't filled with laughter anymore. It was filled with silence, stunned, awed silence. Jason released the thug and let him stumble back to his seat, humiliated but unharmed. He looked at the group, 4 men now wheezing, bruised, and stripped of arrogance. His voice cut through the quiet. Strength isn't in mocking the broken, it's in carrying scars with dignity. He turned his gaze on the rest of the passengers, his tone softening. And silence isn't neutrality, it's permission. You all saw, you all heard, but you said nothing. Shame washed over the crowd, eyes lowered. No one dared meet his stare. Jason turned back to the soldier. He placed a hand on his shoulder, steady and respectful. You carried more weight than these boys will ever understand. Don't let them take more from you. The soldier's throat tightened. He whispered, "Thank you." Jason gave a small nod, then moved toward the bus doors. The driver, wide-eyed, opened them without a word. As Jason stepped off, the bus exhaled like it had been holding its breath the whole time. The bullies sat in silence now, their bravado shattered, their phones forgotten. The passengers shifted, guilt heavy on their faces. The soldier sat straighter, his cane firm in his grip. The bus rolled on, but none of them would forget. Because what they thought was just another ride had become a lesson. Not written in fists, not written in cruelty, but in respect. And in silence, the silence Jason left behind.